What's up, guys? Welcome back to episode 41. Actually, you know what I need to do? I need to, for those that are at home, so we can record our podcast. So YouTube got a little early insight there. But for those listening on the podcast, welcome back to episode 41. For those watching on YouTube, thank you for watching us. I don't know why I said YouTube like that. Like I said. Suddenly turned Swedish. But welcome to our first episode live stream. This is episode 41 of the podcast. Episode 1 of the live streams. We are Fish and Grits, the podcast. You can find us on all platforms, wherever you consume your podcasts. Now you can find us on YouTube as well. You can find us on Instagram at Fish and Grits, the podcast. Twitter, Fish and Grits, the podcast as well. If you are watching, thank you first and foremost. Also, make sure to like the video if you do like it. Subscribe, smash that bell so you know when we do go live, because this will become the norm for us now that we've put some things into actions here. But today is February 24th, 2021. It's 4 days from my 35th birthday, guys.
Hey man, before you start talking about yourself, how about you introduce us?
Oh no, I'm a terrible person.
God,
things are different. I missed my.
You go live and you get those live jitters.
It's all me, no one else.
Looking like Trey Young out here.
I am joined by my two esteemed co-hosts, Marco and Micah. For those of you who are tuning in for the first time on YouTube, we're just a group of guys that have known each other for a long time, love sports. We love it, especially Atlanta sports. So we like to talk about stuff. We feel like we have a fairly informed opinion. Sometimes we don't, and sometimes we put out terrible bits as well. Like me predicting the playoffs and going 0-4 in that one round.
But unlike national pundits, we can be wrong and not the whole world doesn't fall down on our head.
Yeah.
Like when Stephen A. said Dwayne Haskins was a mobile quarterback.
Or when I found myself trying to defend LP.
Oh yeah, well
But we'll get to that later.
Oh yeah, you have a time to redeem yourself.
So today we will be talking about gummy bears and their effects on your health and how they make you a better person.
CBD gummy bears? Weed gummy bears?
No. I just saw a video about that earlier and I was like, man, people really mess with some gummy bears out here. There's like a whole community based on that. I guess there's a community for everything, though, right?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, pretty much.
There's enough people and enough internet connections for you to really get out there and like anything. Because I found some weird things on the internet. Anyway, let's not go down that path. So in the world today, for some posterity, for those of you watching, still no stimulus checks. We were promised in the first week. What would they say? By the first week or by the second week?
He's gonna give us a stimulus check. I'm Joe Biden. I'm gonna get you a stimulus check because we're Americans. We're all Americans.
I'm feeling a bit duped on that one. I don't know about y'all. I mean, I get that it's the government, where this is like a return to normalcy with how the government runs, which means everything happens at a snail's pace. But
the bait and switch.
It was like they're like, huh? Gotcha.
So you want that stimmy? Nah, son.
Well, I mean, it doesn't help that tax season is the same time they're trying to potentially give out stimulus checks. So people are like, I want my tax return and my stimulus check.
Yeah, I mean, go for it, Marco.
Just a quick. I think Gallinari might Bluetooth our podcast, and he heard when we were talking trash about him in the beginning because he's 7 for 7. I think he hit 7 threes or something crazy.
Shooting threes, and I'll not finish that statement.
Anyway,
for those of you that know us for quite some time, you might get that. So yeah, that kind of leads me to our next topic. And for those of you that know this, we are going back to the traditional, this is the Grits Blitz. So we'll talk about some football here. Very interestingly here, just recently, just the other day, you saw one of Atlanta's most renowned athletes, probably one of the most successful athletes to not play for any of our teams, go on a podcast called I Am Athlete and talk to those guys on there. And Micah had some insight on that because I think he watched more than I did. So Micah, what happened? What were they talking about? What did you hear that was really interesting?
I mean, they talked about a whole plethora of things. They went deep into some things. But they talked about Cam, and granted, we had Brett on here earlier last year who said Cam would be great in that Patriots offense. And Cam was very good in that offense until he caught COVID. And then once he caught COVID, he seemed to struggle the rest of the season. And they asked him, what happened. And Cam used a metaphor. He said, imagine we all take a road trip from Atlanta to Miami, and we all drive. And while we're going, and I tell y'all, yeah, just keep going. I gotta stop and get gas. So he's like, I stop and get gas, get some food, and then I hop back on the road. But at this point, I'm well behind y'all. And said, essentially, that's what happened. It was, he took those 2 weeks off for COVID and was just way out of sync with it put him way out of sync. He's behind. They had new terminology, new lingo that they installed in the weeks that he missed, and
even less talent.
Yeah.
What'd you say?
I said an even less talent.
But yeah. And he said that was the problem. And so playing that, those obstacles. Then he also talked about the fact that he was filling a 20-year system. He was plugged into a 20-year system in just, a short off season. So it was a tough situation. And, he just ultimately just said he hopes that they give him another chance, a full year, like an off season, to train with everybody, kind of get accustomed to everybody. And then not to mention, all the people who opted out will be back. So I think he was kind of talked about just hoping for that. But yeah.
Now, do you I get that, and I get the Patriots system is hella complicated, probably one of the most complicated on both sides of the ball in the entire NFL. But do you buy that, from him? Is that a legit excuse? Because there's always two sides to a story. There's your side, my side, and then there's the truth. So, I hear that a bit, and I go, did you just not pay attention? Because when you're out with COVID, you're just on an injury reserve list, but it's just a short one.
Well, he couldn't be at the facility.
There.
I know, but there's Zoom. They learned how to share plays. They learned how to share things this entire time. So either Cam fucked off. Excuse my language. He did what he wanted to do, and didn't study, or the Patriots were like, look, this ain't it, and we're changing here because we dumbed things down, or we did whatever for Cam to do all this. We're opening up the playbook.
Well, that was the thing. He hinted. He said, one, they didn't dumb the playbook down for him at all.
Right.
But he said the problem was the 2 weeks off, he became kind of uncomfortable. And he said typically he provide what was the word I'm looking for? He prided himself in his on-field IQ and awareness and ability to make just adjustments on the fly, but he found himself overthinking. He was like, I was thinking too much, and I would see stuff and it's like, all right, so what should I do right here? Then and said that's ultimately, he was like, what typically was natural for him, it became what was second nature for him normally became something he truly would have to think about because of all of the nuances in that offense that, were different than what he's normally experienced, what he normally dealt with.
Well, I'll say this. I think we all watched Cam. So regardless of what the person says, I mean, obviously he's going to come up with a reason as to why things didn't go right. And I think there's truth to that. There's truth to the fact that, in that time he missed, not only did he maybe fall out of step, but the rest of the league fell in step with exactly what the Patriots were trying to do. Because it's not like they didn't, if you remember, they didn't play games without him. They actually got to miss time, remember? Because they actually missed a week or two of games when he was gone. I don't think, was there one game that he
What week did he miss? When did he go out with COVID?
It was week 4.
It was after the Seattle game?
Yeah, it was after that game.
So, yeah, that was week 2. So he went out week 3.
But then the Patriots didn't play when he was out.
Right, because then they still played Las Vegas, and he played that game.
Right, so he was there the whole time. So while that sounds cool, I just think that what happened was there's a couple factors of why the Patriots were so bad. First of all, we all know half of their team opted out. And not just half their team, but half of the team that actually had talent. Like the good players, they all opted out. Right. And then Cam Newton just can't throw the ball anymore. Like I don't know if his shoulder is just missing now. If the forgotten Cam, what did he say that when this is the forgotten Cam? I feel like they just forgot about Cam, but yeah, it felt like he forgot how to throw, or maybe he's just not capable of throwing anymore. Because regardless of what talent's not there, what we see is he drops back, and then he doesn't even observe the field, or he just dove forward. And then a lot of times Bill Belichick would just try to use him as a battering ram, and then that didn't work either. It's like it just was dreadful to watch. It was almost like such a bad audition for maybe having another job. It's like I'm almost concerned that he won't get another job again because it was that bad.
I think it would, if you look at his season stats, it's kind of indicative too. It looks like, one, the Patriots, they were already shorthanded, and on offense, it just was anemic. They had a bunch of players that got hurt, and
I can't name one offensive
player.
player.
I mean, N'Keal Harry. Who cares about N'Keal Harry? He was supposed to be something. He was supposed to be something, but he's just another Patriots receiver. They draft a certain type, and it just doesn't work out. And I mean, it is what it is up there. They need talent. They need to get someone who can actually win one-on-one. They had it for a second with Antonio Brown, and then we all know what happened. But if you look at his rushing stats especially, so for like the first 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 games, he had 9 rushing touchdowns. So he was averaging over 1 a game. But after that, for the rest of the season, he had 3. So that also coincides with his passing numbers dropping through the floor and throwing more picks, and he was getting sacked more as well. I mean, he got sacked a lot, actually.
Didn't he finish with more picks than touchdowns?
He did. He finished the season with 8 touchdowns and 10 interceptions, but 12 rushing touchdowns.
Okay,
so I mean, he was positive in total touchdowns, but, are you paying him? Well, you're actually not really paying him much.
Quarterbacks are paid to get
to throw the ball into the end zone, not so much.
But
so I mean, I think the team. I think Marco nailed it. I think the team started to figure out the Patriots, and they also continued to lose players.
Yeah, I think, but I think it was. I do think they figured out how they were going to use him, but because of the fact that they didn't have any real talent at the receiver core, it was real easy to take the passing facet away from you. It's like we're not afraid of any of your receivers, so we're gonna play press on your receivers, and we're just gonna send pressure at you, and take away your ability to run the ball against us. So, I mean, I think with some talent at receiver, he could have had a little bit better of a season. Now, granted, I still think he he has his issues, his bad habits where like he likes to throw off the back foot, and the fact that he's coming off shoulder surgery and stuff, he doesn't quite have the arm to do that with the ease that he used to. But I think he still had a good completion percentage. So it's one of those things,
Wait, yeah, 66. That's actually pretty good.
Yeah. It's like what, a little bit above average?
Yeah, it's better than what Cam usually does too. Cam's usually around the 58 range.
Which is indicative of the system, but then if you watch the games, he just didn't. I don't know if it was the play calling, but he just didn't throw it enough. So it's almost like a guy who shoots a great percentage from three.
Yeah,
but doesn't take a lot.
But also, I mean, but what is that? Like, he just didn't have the confidence that, and that's kind of
that is part of knowing the system. Yeah.
Yeah, and it's like, he was second guessing himself on plays, and like whereas Brady never quit. He knew where the ball was supposed to go. Well, pre-snap, if you're kind of second guessing yourself, timing's gonna be off. It's so like I said, if they gave him another shot, I think he'd be a lot better. Are we talking MVP? No, but I think if he ends up getting another shot there, or if Washington with Riverboat Ron, I think he'd be fine. But I don't think he's necessarily done. He just struggled.
2 questions for you before we move off of this part of Cam. If he comes back and plays at his best, like at this stage of his career, like Cam comes out and it's like, all right, this is the best Cam that I can offer you right now. What type of season do you think he can put up? Just give me stats and like accolades if you get them.
But when you say best Cam, do you mean like comparable to his MVP season?
No, I'm asking you. What do you think Cam's best season could be right now at this point of his career? If he is healthy and he knows a system, Marco.
Does he have talent in the offense?
This is, it's open, so you can think of it like he goes to a really good team.
At max, he could be like a 24 and 15 guy.
With how many rushing touchdowns?
Oh, okay. Well, then an additional, let's say, 12 touchdowns.
So you could still think he could put up a 36 touchdown season.
Right, but I mean, yeah. Right. So maybe 20, like 20 touchdowns, around 24, 25 touchdowns. 15 picks, 10 rushing touchdowns.
Yeah, because, you always have to count that in with Cam, just because that's what he brings to the table. Micah, what do you think at this point in Cam's career? What could he do at his best?
At his best, I believe he could probably 3,800 yards or so passing. I would say about 25 touchdowns, 10 to 12 picks. And I would say probably 400 or 500 rushing yards and 9 or 10 rushing touchdowns.
Yeah, I don't even have to give my opinion because that's essentially it. That's about where I think at his best he could be. That's if he gets back to health, to full health. Because he's been banged up a lot. He's a big guy. He's always taking hard hits. He's advancing in age, even though he is a freak athlete. But I just don't think quarterbacks like him are made to last in this league.
Yeah, that's quite evident, right?
Even though he is 260 pounds, like he's still getting hit by other 250-pound men and 300-pound men.
Say he's trying to lose 20 more.
That's crazy.
Down to 230.
I think at this point when athletes like him get older in their career, they realize that my body can't carry this anymore, and I can't, or at least I can't feel good and carry this.
Is Cam a vegetarian?
Yes, he's vegan.
Vegan,
which is another conversation. Chad Ochocinco told him he needs to start eating McDonald's and stuff again because he was like, when you ate McDonald's and stuff, did you get injured? No. Ever since you've been vegan, you've had a couple surgeries.
What did Cam say about that?
He was like, man, I'll blow up to 280. Nah. Ochocinco was like, you black, right? Nah, you ain't gonna blow up. Then I'll work with you. I'm gonna get you down, drop that 20 pounds. You gonna be eating McDonald's and honey buns.
I feel like I feel like something, because I don't know why Cam, as a professional athlete, made such a huge jump. It's almost like something spiritual must have happened to him. Like there must have been like a spiritual awakening. Because why would he pivot like that? Because he was obviously, the picture of health. He was yoked, obese, and then he ate meat.
Did that coincide with his like wingdings postings?
Wingdings?
Like when he did all this, like when he started tweeting and all those weird characters.
Oh yeah, I think so. And the Basquiat haircut,
right? And the change, like the drastic change. Like he was always like he would push the envelope in fashion, but then it was just like he was like.
He did say when he went to France, he saw people walking down the street wearing stuff that he was just like, and it kind of changed his thought process on certain things.
Wearing stuff, so fashion made him.
I think he's saying more so like the culture and the view on what men can wear and all that. It's just a looser, much less.
Hey man, French eat meat too, I swear.
Well, right. Yeah, but I think he's more so commenting on like the culture.
Yeah, ever since Cam threw that Super Bowl, he's never been the same.
He went really deep into like the culture and stuff like that. It was a really interesting interview. Y'all, when y'all get a chance, y'all might want to watch it. But it was a pretty interesting. And like I didn't realize he had as many businesses. He's that big of an entrepreneur. Like he's got his own cigar bar where they serve like upscale food, drinks, and cigar, and it's like how he did that in Atlanta with all the like the permits he needs. It was just like, wow, that's crazy.
To Ryan's point, maybe this dude just doesn't focus on football anymore.
But
he's worried about everything but football.
But I mean, they said the same thing about LeBron, but I mean.
Well, LeBron is clear evidence that he's always focused on basketball. There's no.
He is, but they question it because like he's making Space Jam, he's making other potential moves for
winning championships,
the future.
All right, let's move on to Cam, but from Cam.
Wait, real quick. We didn't really cover before we go on more football.
Hold on, this is still about Cam, but what you got?
Oh, we didn't in the current events. We didn't really mention Tiger Woods. Like almost died yesterday.
Yes,
the 54th day of the year.
Yeah, that's crazy. Like, I mean, I haven't kept up too much with it. I've loosely heard. I've heard like he's better or he's not as hurt as we thought. It was a compound fracture, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think two fractures.
Yeah,
some other breaks.
Has a rod in his leg now.
Yeah, something like that.
They probably had to.
Yeah, I mean. Like a complete tear in his knee and like multiple fractures in his leg is what I've heard.
Yeah.
But then again, I could be wrong. I've just, like I said, I've barely kept up with it. I've just been real busy with work. But I mean, prayers up for the guy. Like,
yeah, definitely.
It's that at his age and his already deteriorated health because he had 4 back surgeries in. He's got a fused disc in his back. People were shocked that he came back this last time.
Right.
It's going to be real interesting to see if Tiger's like, look, I'm at this point in my career. I've accomplished way more than most people have. I'm one of the all-time greats. It looks like I'm not going to be the greatest of all time. I'll never catch him because his health didn't work out. Or we see the Tiger that everyone knows, and it's, no, I'm going to be the greatest. I can still do this. I just have to work harder. So...
Right. I mean, the day before he was out there with D Wade and David Spade and chilling. Yeah. So I mean, I don't know. I wouldn't be mad if he just hangs it up. To me, I think to anybody who in the record books it doesn't indicate it, but I think everybody will unanimously say that he's the best golfer ever. I mean,
the numbers aren't there though.
He did change some things about golf. Like nobody actually lifted weights and worked out.
Oh yeah.
While being a golfer, it was just something you were naturally blessed with, and you just practiced it a lot.
Yeah, he was an athlete that played golf.
Right, and it's like Serena. She might not be winning on the same clip anymore, or catch whoever's the leader in her sport, but we all know she's the greatest tennis player ever. Just like no one was ever or will ever be as dominant in a sport as Tiger Woods was during his run.
Yeah, I mean, he was winning everything.
Racking it up.
And he did it at such a clip that it was just like, is this guy ever going to stop? Like, is anyone ever going to catch him? Because it was always, you would bet on the field or you would bet on Tiger. Like, that's just what it was.
But his neurotic, pace for abusing his body definitely, because it's almost, I always wonder that, it's like, why, until I read the Tiger book, and then I guess this new documentary was sort of like, a sum up of that book. But I didn't realize, because I always ask, like, okay, all these golfers, like, they golf until they're like old as hell, but then you never realize how much Tiger put his body through to try to stay up, and no one else in golf had ever done that, so that it makes sense. Like doing he literally didn't have like a meniscus in his knee and was out there doing like Marine Corps training. I'm like, bro, what are you doing? Like,
dude's a psycho.
I'm tripping over, like, over the years you hear all these names of people who were supposed to be the next the future of golf. When Tiger was down, Phil Mickelson. I mean,
VJ Singh.
Oh yeah, VJ.
VJ Singh for a while. You had
Rory.
Rory.
Brooke Koepka. All these new guys. It's like they keep hyping them up, but they just never can. No one will ever duplicate that just intense dominance. You know what I mean? So Tiger Woods is golf as far as I'm concerned.
No. You want to see golf? You want to see the man who is golf?
John Daly?
Yeah. That man is golf.
He's before my time, man.
Long John Daly.
I mean, honestly, though, like, if you're being real, like, the people, like, there's a lot of people who take golf seriously, and there's a lot of people who, like, I'm going to be a professional golfer. I'm rich and I can golf. But, like, I feel like the majority of America that really enjoys golf and, like, gets out there with their buddies and just has a good time, that's John Daly, man.
Yeah, I mean, you're right. He embodies the golfer more than and his winning equaled up to it too. Did John Daly get a drink like Arnold Palmer? Does he have a drink too?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, the John Daly is an Arnold Palmer with vodka.
That's good. Let's move on. That sums it up.
Yeah, let's. So bringing it back around to Cam, appreciate that, Marco, because I did not. That would have been a shame to not talk about that. But so I had read in a group actually that Mike had just recently added me to on Facebook, and I already want to leave because they're just infuriating about how many mock drafts these people put out that are just awful, and about people who don't understand the cap, who don't understand our needs. I don't know how many times I have to open up a notification from this group, and it's, should we get J.J. Watt? Like, should we sign him? Because he's not that good, but I mean, he's pretty good, man. And it's like, no, we don't have money. Like, we cannot afford J.J. Watt. I don't know if you understand that there's a limit to the amount of money that your team can spend, but we're almost there. And actually, I think we're over. And what we had to do recently, we had to let go of some people.
Did I put that stat? Did I put the numbers in the group chat, right? For our top 5 players' salaries?
Yeah, you did, like about a week ago.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Our top 5 players' salaries going into 2021 combined for over $120 million.
And what's the cap this year? 185?
180 is the floor. So it's going to be around 180 or so, and 120 million of that is devoted to our top 5 players right now.
Yeah, I mean, for those of y'all who don't know, like, your top players are going to make, like, a quarterback's going to make between 30 and 40 million right now if they're good, if they're really good. Like, if you've got a really, really standout defensive player, they'll make about 15 to 20. Like, and I'm talking about like Aaron Donald, like, or Jalen Ramsey. You have to be the best. Everyone else makes, if you're good, between like 8 and 12. And then you have a whole bunch of guys that make like 5, 4, and 3. And like your first year players make like $540,000. So if you're talking about, what'd you say, our top 4 guys, Micah?
top 4 make over 100.
Top 4 make
top 5.
120. Let's just say 80. 180 is what the cap is going to be next year. So that leaves you with $60 million to fill 49 other slots.
Mm-hmm.
Think about the quality that those other players are going to be.
Honestly, I mean, it sounds crazy, but if you really want to get down to the economics, that's not that uncommon in the NFL, which people should understand that a majority of your team is not making great money.
Right. That's true.
Yeah,
But
that many.
This is a bad ratio, though.
Yeah,
Definitely
it's a
bad.
terrible ratio.
Here's the thing. You know, where we are in Matt's contract is terrible because he's 41. You're going to legitimately have to restructure 4 of the top 5, and the other player is Grady Jarrett, and you're gonna have to extend him and try to prorate the cap for.
Yeah, it's $40 million this year, bro.
Yeah.
Oh, okay, I thought you were saying his age. I was about to say, damn.
No, he turns 36 this year. He turns 36, but yeah, but for Grady is the only one I wouldn't restructure. I'd extend him for 2 more years until because right now he's.
Well, let's not go too much into the detail on contracts right now because we got the future a little bit down the road when we'll really get into the contracts and all that next time. Because I mean, as you're making a point here, there's got to be some changes financially in here, and that we could devote an entire show, and we probably will devote an entire show on this because there's going to be a lot of changes and there's going to be a lot of potential things, and we actually saw the beginning of that, which I'll cover here in a second. But we have to fill depth spots because we got rid of Matt Schaub here recently, so we need a quarterback. I need a backup quarterback, and Terry Fontenot said something very recently, which is very intriguing. He said that he wants to bring in quarterback talent to Atlanta. He's like, the way that it has been, you cannot operate with just one elite quarterback anymore. You have to have someone pushing him, essentially, is what he said, to summarize. Because good teams win with a lot of good quarterback talent.
I do remember that article. What was that, like a week or 2 ago?
Yeah.
That was a bit clickbaity because he actually said that about every position. But
yeah, which is true. But it's also something that no one's ever said about our positions here in Atlanta. In the Matt Ryan era, the Dan Quinn era, you just didn't really see that. You saw him bring those guys in, and he would try and fill spots around the roster because he was trying to either draft for need or sign for need, which is not the way good teams are built in the NFL. You take the best player available and you fill your team with talent in the NFL. And it sounds crazy because you're like, well, I need to be good across the board. Yes, you do, but you don't spend those high priority picks on need necessarily every time. You can.
You reach a lot.
Right. You wind up doing things that'll get you in trouble in the long run by reaching on a guy that you probably could have got in the second round. Still got him. Got another talented player, even though you may have another player that's already good there. And it's a fine line to walk because sometimes you do things like draft Calvin Ridley when you don't really need him, and you do have other positions that are available. You just have to be smart with it. The point I'm trying to make is it seems like a change in the philosophy here in Atlanta in the front office. It's going to be about bringing in talent across the board and making people compete. Cap numbers won't be as big of a thing because, as you saw with Fontenot, he came from a system where the Saints didn't really believe in the cap. I mean, if we're being honest, they're like, we'll make it work. Like, we bring in talent because we want to win, and we figure it out later. If we have to cut some people after the season, we have to cut some people because that team obviously didn't get it done. But we need talent, and we're going to pay for it if we have to. And I feel like Arthur Blank's on board with that because Arthur's like, you know what? I'm getting older. I want to win. I know what it feels like to win in the MLS. I want to win in the NFL. So, someone had a very interesting idea about bringing in a backup quarterback here to Atlanta that I never thought we would have had a chance to bring in as a backup. And it's who we just spoke about. So, the idea, is Cam is washed, kind of like what you're hearing around the league. And if he doesn't get that second chance in New England and they just look at him and go, you know what, you aren't who we thought you were, it's just not you anymore, he's probably going to have to go somewhere kind of like Jameis did on a prove-it deal. even though he's a former MVP, the tide turns quick in the NFL. So, do you guys think it's a good idea to bring in Cam? And do you think it could work if we brought him in like a Taysom Hill? Marco, do you think that could be possible?
Oh, hell yeah. I would be so for that, because that's just one of those moves that the Falcons would always figure they'd be afraid to make. Oh, we don't want to scare Matt Ryan. You know what I mean? I would love that, to see Cam in here, because Matt Ryan would have to play his ass off to outwork Cam Newton in the fucking quarterback room. I would love that.
Now you can curse. We're on YouTube, but we got an adult.
Right. I would love it. And yeah, with the new guys in here, I think that's definitely, because Fontenot seems like the kind of guy who would do something like that. You know what I mean?
I mean, because Cam would want to come into Atlanta and take the job from Matt Ryan. He's had that history of rivalry with him when he was at the Panthers that whole time. This is his hometown. This is who he was a fan of growing up. And, he went to North Carolina and became kind of our rival. Atlanta fans loved him, and they would always root for him at games because they recognize him as one of our own. But also there was that contingency that hated him because he was from Atlanta. Mm-hmm. And he was beating us. And it hurt. So, right, just coming in and really embodying what this city is in a player. So, your fans would look at it like, damn, that could have been us. We could have had Cam. Like, could you imagine Cam wearing a Falcons jersey for all those years? So, Micah, what's your thoughts on that?
Possibly. I mean, I wouldn't be opposed to it, but honestly, I would think Washington would be way more willing to give him a shot than we would be. I mean, I would, and besides, like, the way our fan base is, I don't know if you'd want to bring somebody like Cam in. You'd much rather draft one, and because as soon as Matt Ryan has a game like he did against the Chargers, half the fan base is, hey, Cam needs to be starting. I mean, Cam's the better quarterback.
You don't think that would happen if we drafted Justin Fields, man? Like,
I know, right? It'd be the same.
That's going to happen anyway.
It would be a little bit different though, because at least it's a rookie, so it's like, all right, you can easily say he's not ready yet, versus a veteran.
You got an MVP on the bench.
Exactly. So, I mean.
Yeah, I mean, it's hard to be Matt Ryan in this city a lot of times because you're living up to the reputation of Mike Vick, who just changed the culture here and really changed the trajectory of Atlanta, or the Falcons, excuse me, and really in some way Atlanta as well. But to have Cam come in, boy, could you imagine being Matt Ryan sandwiched between those two quarterbacks if that happened? That would be great.
I mean, don't get me wrong. I still wholly believe Matt Ryan would win the job easily, but it would still, just cause that spark,
Right.
I would just love it. I love those kind of things that because I feel like we're just such a safe. We just always play it so safe, and it's like, okay.
I think that was honestly because of Michael Vick and what happened to him and how he ended his time here in Atlanta. I think Arthur Blank makes it not just a point. He emphasizes he wants high character guys, and by high character I mean he doesn't want any kind of blemish on their record or any questionable character, and which is the problem is most of the teams that win have a handful of those guys, like Tampa, Sue, AB. I mean, you got quite a few of them on that team, and they just won the Super Bowl. So you can't build a team based purely off of, I want this clean cut guy. I want as clean cut as we can find.
Yeah, I mean, I remember him saying that not too long ago, and he was like, we're gonna get these guys, and they're gonna be high quality, character guys, high character guys, and they're going to be, also good. And it's like, no, not Mike Smith again. I don't want any more high character guys. I want some mean guys. But yeah, it's just exciting. It's kind of Atlanta culture to expect us not to go out and sign big names in any sport. Like, we never have done it, and it's infuriating. It was weird this offseason with the Hawks. And we're like, wait, we're signing people? Like,
we always try to get some washed up running back. That's not against our code.
Well,
but that's the thing. They're washed up. They're past their prime.
Well, I think it's different though. I think the Hawks have always had a problem, not necessarily monetarily. It was usually just people didn't want to come here.
Right.
It was a player-run organization for a
the
long
Falcons. The Falcons have a lot of players would want to play in Atlanta, but we don't have the money because we often, invested in bad contracts or overpaid, players that probably shouldn't be. Like, Dante Robinson, we gave him this huge cornerback contract and he was hurt most of the time, so.
I mean, I just hope he brings that to Atlanta. He really does change that, because that would be beautiful to see us really just get aggressive about winning and to really attempt to change this culture here.
Yeah.
But recently here, because of some of the cap restrictions that we're facing, we had to get rid of some very familiar faces and some guys that were very good to the city. We got rid of Alan Bailey first and foremost. So, we brought him in 2 years ago. That was a nice addition. He never really panned out to what we thought he was going to be. He was a decent run stopper. He was not a great pass rusher from the D tackle or the end in the 5-2. But he was decent. He served a purpose. But we also just cut Ricardo Allen, the really amazing story that he was to come into the league from Purdue. I think he was a 4th round draft pick as a corner.
What's our fifth?
Yeah, somewhere right in there. He was mid to late of the draft as a corner, undersized, not very fast. Played soundly in his games, but he didn't pop. He was one of those guys that you'd be like, I could count on him to not mess up, but he's never gonna win a game for me, or he's never gonna shut someone down. And he came in, we cut him, and then he went to the practice squad for a year, and then came off the practice squad and really just was like, if I'm going to make it in this league, I have to study harder than everyone else. I have to work out harder than everyone else. I have to be at the facility before anyone else. And I have to leave the facility after everyone else. And there was an interview with him and his wife, and she was like, I don't see him during the season. Like, he's not here. And it was really cool to see that, because he's been dating her since like freshman year at Purdue. They've been together forever, and they just really came together. I think, weren't they on Hard Knocks? Like, wasn't he one of the main features on Hard Knocks, Micah?
Yeah, he was.
Yeah, I believe so. Him and Tyler Starr.
Yeah, that's right, Tyler Starr. I thought it was Bierman, but it was Starr. That's right. Mm-hmm. Another linebacker who didn't do much for us in the time here. But I think we all kind of saw this coming with Rico. That was one of those names that we saw. The writing was on the wall as far as a contract goes and his productivity and a change in system, because he fit that Dan Quinn free safety spot perfectly. He was a great teacher. But in today's NFL, you really need an athlete at the free, especially if you're going to play single high safety. He's got to be able to cover everywhere. So I appreciate the Rico. I know, Micah, you weren't the biggest fan. Marco, do you have any distinct memories of Rico?
Like distinct memories?
Yeah, just anything about him, or do you?
I mean, I always admired his leadership and his ability to get the defense together. And I think it was when he got injured that one year, his value was very apparent to me. But in terms of all these guys and just saying goodbye, quite honestly, I'm not sad to see anyone go on a 4-win team.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not trying to make it be like, oh no, this is a terrible cut. I mean, he had to go. Like it just financially it made sense, productivity, all that. It made sense to let him go, even though he was a fan favorite. He hit a great story. You know, he may find like he'll probably go to the Cowboys,
the Cardinals or something.
Like he'll definitely get a chance, but he might be like, you know, a lot of our other players on defense that have gone other places and not really done anything when they got there.
But I'm tripping over Marco's old cold self over there. But I'm not I'm not sad to see anybody go on a 4-win team. Good God.
If he dies, he dies.
Well, no, like here's the thing, but even though it's no secret that I wasn't the biggest Rico fan. I did respect him because he was a leader, and his leadership was it was obvious that he was one of the most respected players on the team. It was just from my perspective, talent-wise, we could have had better, and it was just like, all right, I loved having him on the team, but it was like safety. It was nothing really special about him other than his leadership. And so it was just like, all right, well, how much of an impact is he going to make? And so when it was time to cut him, like, it was just like, all right, well, I mean, money-wise, it just made sense.
I mean, he made some great plays for considering, and take this to, with some relativity. I'm speaking about Ricardo Allen relative to other safeties and other NFL players. I know I could never make any of these plays. Like, I know he's a million times more athletic than me. But for what he did on the field, like some of the plays he made were very impressive good. And they were because he studied and because he worked hard. Athletically, he was a bottom tier safety in the league. Like, he's not very fast. He's not very strong. He's a sound tackler, though, because he worked very hard at it. He was a plus zone defender because he was very smart. And he got in the books and he studied everything. Like, he was in there doing film study every morning for every day he was here before the official film study and before the workout, and then he would do it again after. So he had to work a lot harder. And those are the type of players across any sport that I endear myself to. Like, that's why I liked, if you ask me my favorite NBA players, it's always those guys that, just
grind.
Grind, right. Like, I'm never going to go buy, like, a Stars jersey in any sport, unless I get one or whatever. And those are the type of players that I get. I'm a big fan of those players, but I just, I attach myself to those players because that's how I was. I had to work my ass off to even compete athletically in the sports that I played. So yeah. I guess I saw myself in those guys.
I mean, the writing was definitely on the wall, though. As soon as they switched the whole, staff, then you knew. Like, if you're super knowledgeable in an old system, then you're suddenly not knowledgeable anymore. So,
well, to be honest with you, I think even before we knew we were switching staffs, I believe the writing was on the wall because, like I said, he's getting older, and he wasn't as active this year. He wasn't making plays all over the field. Not to mention his contract, cutting him saved us like $6 or $7 million. So of course, right. It was just like even if we kept even Albrecht and
Raheem,
what's his name? Raheem, yeah, and kept Raheem and Albrecht, there's a good chance he was still going to get cut just because financially it makes sense.
Yeah, I mean, again, it made sense. So, speaking of moving to a different system, we've talked about it a little bit before. Now it's kind of you're starting to see the beginning of how Fontenot and Arthur Smith, and really his coordinators as well, because they're telling him, okay, we're going to run this. These are the type of players that I want. It's not just two people making these decisions. It's the entire staff making these decisions. We're starting to see the type of players that they don't want, and what we're going to start to see more of that. And then come free agency, we're going to start to see maybe some more of an identity of what we're going to look like. Are we going to stick to this, real fast, defense? Are we going to move to a little bit more physical? It just really depends, because we know Dean Pease is going to change the defense, but it's not like he couldn't come out and run the 4-3 most of the time, because that's our best defense right now. Dean Pease is going to put us in the best position to win with the defense that we have and to stop the other team. He would never throw us out there in a 3-4 just because he runs a 3-4 and, we don't have the personnel to do it. Like, it's just not what we're going to do. So we're going to start to see how he's going to build this team, how soon he thinks he can change the identity of the defense, because we have not been a good defense, like statistically speaking, in quite some years. So I'm excited about free agency. What do you guys think about doing like a mock draft, like episode maybe pre free agency, just to see what we think, because we have no idea where this team's going to go and what our holes are going to be, and then a post free agency mock draft once we get really close to the draft. What do you guys think?
When is
about
the
doing
draft, by the way?
April 20.
Yeah, late April.
Second, I want to say.
When do Avengers movie typically get released?
Spring break.
Oh man,
Right.
That's draft night.
Right, exactly. I mean, for those, we have had a tradition amongst our friends here, pre-COVID, obviously, to on draft night, what we would do is we would, if anybody had spare tickets to the draft for the Falcons, because I don't know if you guys know, but they would host a draft night in the stadium, and you'd get to watch the draft on the giant Halo board, and it was just kind of cool because you instead of just watching it with your friends at home, you were in the Falcons arena or stadium, and with Falcons fans and in their home, so you're like, oh, this is it just added something to it. It wasn't anything different really, but it was
Catch the vibe.
Yeah, it was like a vibe thing.
People are underwhelmed.
Right.
We took it.
Man, to be in that stadium when everyone's like, we're going to either get a defensive lineman or we're going to get like a pass rusher, we're going to get a linebacker, we're going to do all this, and then ding 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 ding, with the 17th overall pick, the Falcons select Chris Lindstrom, guard, Boston College, and everyone went,
Right.
who? Now, I was happily wrong on that. Chris is going to be special. It was a great pick. Great pick.
Was Caleb taken before Lindstrom?
No, we traded back into the first round and got Caleb.
32.
Yeah.
Now, it could have been worse though, because it could have been like that. We could have been like that Giants fan who was sitting behind us. Pick of the NFL draft, the Giants take Daniel Jones.
But just for some insight for the people, it's funny because not only do you get like the reaction of like the fans not liking the pick for the Falcons, but then they blow that loud train horn.
Clip Chris Lindstrom.
And everybody just like, what? Huh?
It hurts my ears, actually.
Oh man.
But go for it, Micah.
For the record, the draft is April 29th through the 1st.
Okay.
So we'll get a probably a pre-mock draft or pre-free agency mock draft, post-free agency mock draft. So free agency is only a couple weeks away. So
Yeah.
we probably need to get that up pretty soon here. So that's pretty much it as far as Falcons news goes today, because there's not a whole lot of stuff going on. It's just all speculation and really reacting to people losing their job. Did you guys see that Oklahoma wide receiver get into that fight in the bathroom?
Got Wazazazita.
Boy,
Yeah, they don't pick fights with random
people you don't know. Yeah, like you don't know who they are. Like, I'm not. Like, there's been several times where I'm like, yeah, I was in the Army and I did this, I did blah, blah, I did combatives, I know this. And I'm like, I could beat him. I'm like, actually, I don't know who that is.
Right. I didn't see the video, though. Like, was the dude, like, small or something?
Yeah, so the receiver's like, looks like about 6'2", maybe. He looked taller. And the guy comes up to, like, here on him.
Yeah.
And he's like, man, get out of here. Like, he definitely was like, nah, I'm not worried about this kid. And, like, they were talking shit to him, and then, like, they shoved him. And you saw him, like, the other kid kind of looked aside, like, all right, watch out.
This is what you
and
want?
then he put his hands on him again, and, like, by the first blow that he threw to that guy, you knew he was a fighter because he didn't, like, cop back. They were close, and he just went elbow to the face. And I was like, oh! And he just, like, he got, like, a couple in with his elbow, and then started just, like, immediately. And the guy tried to pick him up, and he just lowered himself, hip threw him to the ground, got side control on him, then went to full control. I was like, what? I was like, oh, no! And, like, his buddy, like, it was him and his brother were the two that they were, like, talking shit to. And like, his brother's like, man, we're not fighters. We've just been doing this our whole life. I'm like, oh, y'all are those, like, country kids that just, like, fought.
Right.
Y'all were bad kids, weren't y'all? And, like, his brother, like, is just kind of doing whatever, and the other guy starts to, like, go at him. And his brother's like, all right, and then takes his friend to the ground and starts just beating his ass. Like, he gets on top of him, like, gives him, like, from the side, and I was like, God, these guys are not going to be well after this. And, like, the receiver almost lost his eye.
Ooh.
Damn.
Yeah, he got the shit kicked out of him. Let's do this. I want to talk about some NBA stuff before, like, I have a really quick thing to say. And then let's go to break really quick, because the NFL ran a little bit over. And then let's talk about some NBA stuff, Marco.
But are you saying you want to talk about NBA stuff before the break and
No.
after? Wait, what did you
No,
say?
I mean, I'll just say one thing, and then we'll go to the break.
Okay.
Or, no, you know what? Let's bring it.
about Luka.
Yeah, it is.
I knew you. And you're so predictable, Ryan.
Hey,
I didn't even
at
have
least
to put him on the. I didn't even have to put him on the rundown because I knew you were gonna
at least I'm consistent, man.
come in here cheesing.
At least I'm consistent.
That Luka.
Hey, you can't deny it, man. He's a cold-blooded killer.
One, but still cold blooded.
Hey, yeah. I mean, I'll take his inefficiency right now over some other people's efficiency, because he's doing a lot. He wins games. I'll put it that way. And I'm not a hater. I like them both.
Sounds like you're hating, bro.
No, I mean, I expect my players to do more. So
Like you're hating, bro.
we'll talk about this on the other
Comparative
side.
hate. All right.
We're going to take a quick break, and we shall be back shortly. Peace. appreciate y'all hanging on for that break. For those on the podcast, welcome back from the break. We were having a pretty interesting conversation here regarding movies during the break. And Micah, you had mentioned Paramount Plus, right?
Yeah.
And that's
with CBS.
So yeah, all these movie companies and all these large companies that are just losing money hand over fist during the pandemic, because a movie theater is like one of the worst places you could possibly go when there's a pandemic, packed in with a ton of people in a room with recirculated air, where you're sitting close to one another. You're practically stacked on top of one another. So if you're sitting at the top, you're a little better off. But anyone below that, you're just catching all their germs if they sneeze or cough or just all over the back of your head.
Or won't stop talking.
God, those are the worst. If you talk in movies, like, stop listening to the podcast. Like, I don't want you.
I've spoken movies, but it's typically not like conversations.
No, I'm talking about the people who full on have conversations with each other in the movie theater about the movie that you're watching.
Yeah.
And not
no
quietly.
sensitivity.
No, leaning over and whispering in their ear. It's like, man, did you see that? What is he doing? Who is that?
People answer phones in theater. I've seen people do the most classless.
I hate that, man.
I just know there have been quite a few movies we've gone to, especially like the Avengers movies. But God damn.
Like that, when you go to opening night movies for big movies, that's acceptable. That is 100%. If you go to an opening night movie, expect applause, expect screaming, hooping and hollering, all that. That's on the table for opening night, because those are your true fans, and most of them aren't gonna just sit there and blah 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 blah.
I remember hearing a few people cry during Infinity War.
Yeah, I saw some tears actually.
Boy, I was about to.
The dude sitting next to me was definitely crying.
Saw some, but I heard you could kind of hear.
But the question I was going to pose is that I wonder. So say for instance, when Black Panther 2 comes out, if the whole COVID wars are over and people are allowed to go back in theaters, if they do a movie theater launch and a streaming launch, do you think that people will forego the traditional movie experience and just watch it from home?
So the movie theater business was already struggling on how to get people into the theaters. Now, when you had things like Netflix and HBO that would release them 2 or 3 months after they'd been out, they were trying to figure out how to draw people into the theaters when that was your competition, making people willing to wait 2 to 3 months to watch your product, right, rather than go to a theater. And so that's when you saw these come eat food and drink beer at the movie theater at the same time, so you can do the things you saw at home but still look at it on the big screen.
Right.
And that was a hard enough draw. And that kind of got some people back into watching movies. But if you're telling me that the movie theater industry is going to have to compete against people being able to watch it in their home the exact same day that it comes out in movie theaters, nah. Movie theater industry is dead.
Dead for yeah.
If that's the way it's going, done.
I don't even have to put on pants to watch this movie.
Right, why would you? I mean, I love the movies. I absolutely do. Micah knows that all of us know. We all go and watch movies together, and Micah and I will watch everything together. We'll watch every genre of movie that comes out. We would go to the theaters and we would watch it. I had Movie Pass. I put Micah on Movie Pass before it died, and that was the greatest couple of weeks, a couple of months there. I could go to the movies once a day, and I have to pay $12 a month.
Bruh, even still, even after Movie Pass died, Tuesday nights at Movie Tavern for $5. I could go for $5. I was hitting that up anytime there was a movie out that I wanted to see. It's I'm not gonna see it on release date. I'll go on Tuesday night because, and legitimately, I've sent them the Bow Wow challenge pictures because legitimately no one in the theater except for me.
Man,
like me and like 3 other people in this entire theater watching a movie.
yeah, like
That's the one over there in Tucker, right?
Yeah.
right there off of La Vista Road.
Yeah. Old ass one.
Yeah, it was an old AMC that closed down for years. I mean, years.
Like they got like wood benches in there.
I mean, they're very strange. Like it's like a sloped theater seating style.
They
Right.
upgraded the seats.
But that's the sad thing. That's the. Oh wait, yeah, they did go to nicer chairs. I forgot about that.
Where the reclinable chairs that you could hit the button and recline.
Yeah,
That's
So
why I
that-
saw the first Black Panther.
yeah. And those original chairs they had, they were awful. They were like high school auditorium seats. You're like, this is really uncomfortable. I don't know if this is worth it. my butt hurts, and we're only 30 minutes into this movie.
Right. I want to go.
The one AMC in North DeKalb was terrible too.
Oh my god, that was so bad.
You see in that theater.
Like it was so bad at that movie tavern. One, the selection was bad. The customer service was awful. It made me think about. It's like, okay, is it worth it to drive to the one on Sugarloaf? And like, I lived for those of you all familiar with Atlanta, I lived in Tucker. I lived like right down the street from that movie theater that we're talking about. It was like a 2-minute drive, and I was like, Sugarloaf ain't that far.
Right.
I can make that. I could drive 30 minutes to watch it there instead of here. So, like, it was bad at first. I'm so glad they got better. But yeah, I don't think the movie industry will survive this. On to what we wanted to talk about.
Woo, woo, woo! It is time for the layup, aka the finger roll, aka jelly time, aka points in the paint.
No more horns.
Today, we have a
Explosions.
special Luca explosion to start our.
I'll try not to explode.
No, please do. It was quite impressive.
Yikes.
Go ahead, Ryan. Tell us what you witnessed.
It's not so much a witness. It was just kind of a realization right now. And this is solely my opinion. I know Marco's probably going to disagree with me, and I know Michael will probably disagree with me. But at their current trajectory, and for the stats they're putting on the court, and what they're doing as far as affecting wins and losses, Marco, something must have happened in the Hawks game.
Just blown layups.
Hey.
But we're up comfortably.
All right, but
Just
with their current trajectory,
getting blocked by Jeff Teague. He got blocked by Jeff.
No, not Jeff Teague. Not Jeff Teague. I feel like Trey is on a perennial, well, with the exception of this year, perennial all-star trajectory that will be remembered as one of the better players in the league until he improves in some areas, while Luka is on a trajectory to go down as a first ballot Hall of Famer for what he's doing at that age in winning games.
You know they're only 15-15, right?
No, trust me, I get that. But how many games have you seen Luka go down in the clutch, the crunch time, and make the big play to win the game?
Twice.
No, think about the playoffs.
Twice.
He did it
last
he
night.
did it like 2 or 3 times in the playoffs alone.
No, he only had that one game where he hit the
He
big
hit the
shot.
bet. You're thinking about the big one against the Clippers. Yeah, that was
Then he
one.
had
But he
a
did it
few-
earlier in the series too.
Which game though?
It was like game. What was the first game they won? It was game 1, right?
He didn't hit a big shot in that one though. They were just up.
It wasn't like the last second shot. No, but he hit the go ahead shot.
I just think I think that in terms I understand what you're saying, but I think that
I just totally disagree.
First of all, it's like it's tough for those two that at such different positions. Even though Luka plays point, he's not a point guard.
Right, he's a point forward.
The point forward. So obviously his value is obviously just based on package. He's always going to be 6'7". He's always, even though he doesn't play defense at all, he can get some steals, and he's longer than Trey. So, and he can get those rebounds. He can also mix it up for rebounds. So implicitly, he has more value. But in terms of winning, I don't and I'm not saying it's not true, but I don't think there's enough to say necessarily at this point that he's a better winner, because I mean, you got to look at the Hawks team and look at how we've been destroyed by injuries. And you saw what Dallas was doing before Kristaps was healthy. They were like the worst team in the league.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna say I understand where you're coming from, but I think that it's and I'm not even and I don't disagree with you that at this point, like Luka's probably already anointed first ballot Hall of Fame, but I think that's just because of the people who vote for that are already super overreacting and on his cock hard.
Yeah.
But he has proven. I mean, I'm not trying to hate on Luka, because I mean, he's amazing. Like, he is amazing. But he's James Harden, man. Like, I don't know. Like we've never seen this player before. Like, that man is literally
James at his
Harden.
age.
Mind you, James Harden in prime James Harden earlier. True. That's
okay.
True. Like,
Real quick.
Mm-hmm.
Big shout out to 77 Mentor Life. We see you on the stream. Thanks so much for tuning in. Stick around. Drop a question, drop a comment. We can address it here for you.
77. That sounds like a Luka fan.
Hey.
But yeah. So I mean, I definitely agree, but I think it's a little early to really come to those kind of conclusions just yet. But I see where you're coming from, and it is clear Luka is a better player so far. He is, and Trey. Trey did not until that. It was almost like I want to talk about this later, but because when we're talking about
we're here, baby. Let's go.
Because I want the Hawks section, but the fact that I feel like Trey played amazing. The Trey we saw last season happened in the first 3 games, and we hadn't seen that Trey again until Nate McMillan coached.
Yeah,
because Trey and he has been averaging like 35 and 10 for the last 13 games or something crazy like that. But we've been watching, and we've seen a lot of that has been inefficient and just a lot of free throws, a lot of, you know what I mean? It hasn't been the Trey, and I think that's also another reason why they didn't vote for him.
It's Bryce. That's who the person commenting is. What up, Bryce?
What up, Bryce? So, yeah. So I think we'll get into that in the All-Star snub conversation and all that. But, yeah, I think it's interesting. But, yeah, I mean, Luka's definitely better at this point. But I still wouldn't trade. I still not mad that, that Trey is our guy.
I hear you. I mean, it's a little disrespect saying he's like James Harden for what he's accomplished thus far. But I also get it. I get what you're. Ooh, I see the similarities that you're drawing. I get that.
James Harden is I think James Harden is one of the more disrespected players in the league, considering he's always winning. He always takes his team deep in the playoffs. Without, even before he had help, even before he started LeBron in his team, he was already winning at a high level just based on James Harden style basketball. So, I mean, I'm not saying Luka hasn't done that yet, but he's also in a much better situation to start than James Harden was. So,
I feel you. Go for it, man. It's all yours. Drive. Take us somewhere productive other than my disillusions.
Micah didn't give his opinion though. Micah, what do you think?
Well, I mean, I just felt like I feel like he's a lot more polished than Trey, because he's played professional basketball for the past 26 years. So
Luka's 22 and he's been playing.
He came out the womb playing professional basketball because Europe, they don't have kind of labor laws.
Layup line. Let's go. Get in line. Huh?
But his dad. Have y'all ever seen a highlight tape of his dad, Sasha Doncic? I think I brought this up the last one. Yeah.
You mentioned it, but I didn't watch it.
But yeah, I mean, I just think he's more polished than Trey because of that, the professional experience. But I think there are aspects about Trey's game that are absolutely dynamic. His defense isn't, but his offensive game and the way he can get people involved, Clint Capella's offensive explosion this year, and a lot of it's just it's not an explosion, but compared to what he was in, like how uncomfortable he looked in Houston to how much more comfortable he looks here now. I think a lot of it has to do with playing with Trey. I do think Collins got in Trey's head.
Made him second guess some things.
Yeah, Collins complained about, spacing and so on and so forth. So now he's trying to change his game to appease too many people. And I mean, that's my thing. I think it's hurt him. He makes a lot more mistakes than he had in the past. He doesn't play as loose as he does. He doesn't look like he's playing as loose as he has in the past. And but like I said, Luka, I get what you're saying. I don't necessarily agree that Trey is just the perennial all-star. I just think if a certain person goes and we unleash Trey and get him playing free again, I think you'll start to see his potential shoot up more too.
That person you were just talking about just caught an oop.
I don't think it's just him. I don't think it's that person. I think someone else. Someone else is holding back the whole team and also holding back Trey. And I said, to clarify, because I think Trey could easily be a Hall of Famer if he improves a couple things. His defense.
That's not going to improve.
I mean, he could just get.
Have you seen Steph's defense? That never improved.
But Steph also plays the passing lanes way better.
Trey averages like a full steal a game.
Yeah, but he could do if he was really on it, he could get a lot more. Because
playing the passing lanes is not playing. Just like when Allen Iverson, have you ever heard that? Where he was pretty much like, I couldn't play defense. I couldn't stop anybody. All I did was play the passing lanes.
Yeah, but it's just the same. That's still defense. That's a turnover.
Right.
Yeah, like Steph knows what his strengths are,
right.
And athletically he can't mirror anybody, but he can at least play smart enough and jump and anticipate the passing lane. Trey needs to get a little more instinctive with that.
And he needs to become more of a killer in crunch time.
Yeah.
I don't even think it's a passing lane thing. I think that so it's more of like I've seen more intensity defensively from Trey than I've seen for the past 2 seasons.
Mm-hmm.
But I think what Curry does great is play team defense. Like he's on a string with his guy. So and I think what it really helps that Clint Capella's down there because it's the first season Trey has had somebody that you can just funnel people to. But when DeAndre was out there, Trey actually looked like a competent defender.
That's true.
He did. And to your closer point, I think that what we have to accept is just like Steph. The only person that is like sort of outside of this is Dame. But even Dame, I mean, he'd be pulling up from everywhere and still hitting it. The difference between Luka is 6'7", and he can get that mid-range shot off any time. And I know he hits threes to close games, but I mean honestly, anybody can do that. Luka though can take you down to the post and hit a game-winning mid-range shot. Trey will never be able to do that. Right. Just like Steph is never able to do that. It depends on can you get all the way to the basket or can you hit a three. And at the end of the day, those two are low percentage shots in closing time. So you need players who are 6'7", like MJ, like Kawhi did, like Kobe did, like even to your power forward, like Tim Duncan could close a game in the post. But it's like it's just going to be harder for a 6'1" guy to be a legitimate closer. I mean, it's just what it is.
I mean, I've seen a handful of times Trey try to take the game-winning three, and a big was on him, and he wound up blocking it because he's so small.
Right.
So I mean, it's just hard for him to get shots off.
That's the thing, though. I mean, there's been plenty of small guys that have closed games, Marco. I mean, like, and it's not always a jumper. It's not
consistently closed games. Like Steph is not.
I get what you're saying.
You get what I'm saying, right? Because it's like, a point guard is never really going to be your closer. I mean, it's just never been that way in the NBA. Like, when has it ever been like that?
We saw that Chris Paul could never be the closer. Russell Westbrook either.
Right, definitely not Russ. But like you need like KD was the.
I'll yield to that. Yeah, I mean it's a good point. That's a fair point. I don't necessarily think it's 100% because there's definitely small guys that can and have,
But we're talking about there's a difference between.
No, I'm talking about over a series of a season. Have.
Right.
But
Like,
those are the
we're talking
elite
game
guys.
7. Right, because you see what happens to Steph in Game 7. Like he misses everything. Like Game 7 of the finals, Steph can't hit a goddamn shot.
Yeah.
And he's the best shooter ever. So it's like, hey, it is what it is.
Yeah. I'll yield.
But then at the same time, I do think Trey needs to work on his mid-range game a lot.
He needs to work on his floater a little bit more too.
Right, which I thought he had down, but this season, I don't know. John Collins, get the fuck out of here. I'm just... Wait, Michael, were you talking about Lloyd Pierce or John Collins earlier? Who were you talking about that's holding back Trey?
I think Pierce.
Okay. All right. Well, anyway, let's get on with the NBA. I know we're probably flirting with another 3-hour episode here, so let's try to get through this thing. So the second half of the season schedule has been released, which begins on March 10th and will run through. Wait, why did I not put will run through?
Teams with 7 through 10. Oh, wait, yeah. It's going to start on March 10th and goes on indefinitely.
Right, forever. It runs through the 18th. And we'll conclude with the beginning of the playoffs on May 22nd. The play-in tournament starts May 18th. So the teams with the 7th through the 10th best winning percentages will qualify for this tourney. The last week of the season has been left unscheduled to give the fans the best possible matchups. And it's no surprise, the NBA really only picks about 6 teams that they want to show on their channels. But I think there's like a quota. I think every team has to have like at least 2 national games. So luckily for our Hawks fans out here, just to let you know, we have 4 more national games for the remainder of the season. One which will be on ESPN. March 26th, which will be a Steph-Trey matchup, Warriors versus Hawks. And then on April 15th, we will play the Bucks on TNT. The other 2 are going to be NBA TV games, so those will still be blacked out in Atlanta. That's why I don't really count those as national games. So that's just some information for y'all. I don't know if y'all have any opinions on this. Not much to give an opinion on. I'll just say there's like, what matchups are you looking forward to? The same ones they showing all season. They literally only show. It's like they show the Pelicans, they show the Mavericks, and then all the other teams. Then Portland, for some reason, gets a lot of games.
Because Dame has gained a lot of traction nationally.
Right. Then otherwise, it's just all the teams you would expect. Your Bostons, your Milwaukees, your Lakers, your Clippers.
That Hulu money came in for Dame.
Hulu, a lot of sports.
Him and Baker Mayfield, baby.
Right. So what the biggest news of this week was that the All-Star reserves were announced yesterday, and it included some of the best players in the league. Let me go ahead and tell you who these guys were. So for the West, we had 8. Boy, that's okay. Yeah. For the West, we had AD, Paul George, Rudy Gobert, Dame Lillard, Donovan Mitchell, Chris Paul, and Zion. That's cool to see Zion in his first All-Star game. Then we had for the East, Jaylen Brown, James Harden, Zach LaVine, Julius Randle, Ben Simmons, Jason Tatum, and Nikola Vucevic.
Vucevic.
Wait, where are my notes at? How do I get back to the notes, man? All right, so my question for y'all. Okay, so obviously the big news was that there were some snubs there. To me, the biggest snub was obviously Devin Booker, who was on a team that's like top 4 seed and somehow didn't get voted in, but Chris Paul's old ass did. I don't know how that works, but so Trae Young as well, Domantas Sabonis. I mean, it's a shame he didn't make the All-Star.
Man, he's been balling.
Tobias Harris playing better than freaking Ben Simmons. He didn't make it, but I know Ben Simmons is like a Defensive Player of the Year candidate right now. So it came out today that Devin Booker will replace AD. But I want to ask y'all, other than obviously Devin Booker, who do you think should have made it, and who would you replace?
Micah, you can go first.
I'd replace I'd replace Chris Paul with anybody.
Who, Mike Conley? He was one of the snubs in the West.
Bruh, Mike Conley, John Wall, what's his name? Boogie Cousins. He's not even on the team, but I'd replace him with Boogie Cousins.
I would honestly. I'm trying to look up his stats real quick, but just from what I'm looking at here, I would probably replace Vucevic, even though Vuce is a beast on offense. I would put Clint Capella in there, man.
Okay.
He's leading the league in rebounds. He's third, I think, in blocks per game.
Yeah.
He's averaging, what is he averaging? Let's see. I want to say a solid like 14 or 15 a game. Yeah, 15 points, 14 rebounds, 1 assist. His player efficiency rating is 13th best in the NBA.
What's Rudy Gobert's stats? Because
probably lower than that.
Gobert is 13 and a half. Let's see. Rudy Gobert is averaging 14 points, 13 and a half rebounds, 1.3 assists, and his player efficiency rating is 20th in the NBA. So Capella is playing better than Gobert.
But that's the thing. It's like Gobert is a defensive player who always makes the All-Star game, but Capella's having a better season and didn't get rewarded for it.
I agree with you on that, Ryan. I definitely think Clint Capella. I didn't really consider that, but yeah, that was a snub.
Yeah, like people don't give him enough credit for what he's doing down here. I mean, we're not the wins aren't there because of our depth. Really, it's our biggest problem. But I think I hate NBA All-Star voting. I just think it's so dumb the way it's done. It's awful.
Well, I mean, like I said, no knock against Kobe, R.I.P. Kobe, but that year that Kobe tore his Achilles and still got voted into the All-Star game, it's just like, yo, come on. I mean, seriously. Dude can't even play in the game, and y'all still voted him in. It's stupid. You need to have some more objectivity in voting as opposed to just 100% fan votes.
Well, it's not 100% fan. You mean for the starters?
Yeah.
Because even the starters aren't 100% fan.
No, it's 50% fan, 25% coach, 25% media.
Right. So, I mean, Kobe is obviously the shining example because he is one of the greatest ever. But, I mean, I understand what you're saying. Like, I think Clay was one of the leading voters.
I think that was back in the day. I think back in the day it was like fan vote, but I think they kind of changed the system. But I think certain players don't get acknowledged just purely based off of the fact that like the Hawks aren't winning, so Clint Capella wasn't going to get any love from anybody.
But the wild part is that we're only like 2 games separated from, most of these teams. Like we're not that much worse than the Knicks, the Bulls.
In the East, I mean
Boston. We're only like 2 games behind Boston.
Like the sixth seed in the East is still under 500. So we're not like if we went on a winning streak, we could easily get back in playoff contention. But
we're 5 games out of the 3rd seed. Like
right, it's like we're all bunched in there. So it's like that excuse doesn't even hold weight this year of you just weren't good enough.
But I mean,
because Bradley Beal's a starter. I mean, like.
Well, I think there was pressure from last year. Bradley Beal was balling and got snubbed last year. So the fact he's still balling this year, even though Washington isn't winning, it's like, we got to get him. We got to get him at least one.
I love Bradley Beal, but I feel like I don't know. We're gonna have to.
I still feel bad for him.
In retrospective, we're gonna have to see how impressive this. It is. It's always impressive to drop 30 a game, but I be watching them sometimes. I feel like they don't even like double him. It's like no one even cares. It's like,
we're still gonna beat the Wizards anyway.
Right? No, they don't even try to stop him. Unlike Zach LaVine's averaging near 30, and I watched his game and they double him a lot. So I don't know.
LaVine is balling.
Yeah, LaVine is balling out of control. Ryan, why is your picture not there? What's going on?
Because I'm eating. Because I don't want everyone to watch me eat.
Oh, okay.
So I'll be back shortly. Those who are watching and listening.
Right. So my answer obviously was I think Ben Simmons is not an all-star caliber player, but I know he's a 3-time all-star at this point. But He's just totally not. He's not. So I would have put Trey in for him. Or if that's like, you know, a fanboy, then I'd say Sabonis, you know, should have probably made it. Yeah. But moving on. Let's see what we got here. So just in terms of some players got released, and I just want to ask y'all if y'all would be interested in any of these players, or if you were a GM, would you have any, you know, for your team, would you want them? So the Rockets released DeMarcus Cousins. Boogie gone. The Nets have released Shumpert and Roberson just weeks after signing them, with neither of them ever seeing the court. Damien Jones, former Hawks center, he's available again. He got waived. And Quinn Cook, championship point guard, was waived as well. If you were a GM, would you have interest in any of these players?
Micah, you go first.
Yes, I would. If I could get them for cheap, I'd bring in Boogie. Or hell, at this point, I'd bring in Damien Jones just to get Bruno Fernando off the roster. Other than that, Shumpert and Roberson. First of all, I didn't even know Shumpert was on the Nets.
Yeah, I was shocked.
You know, neither one of them good defensive. Both of them are good defensive players, but do not help on offense much at all. But you know, outside of that, I would either exchange Cousins or Damian Jones and just be like, all right, Bruno, bye, and just release Bruno.
It was nice to know you, Bruno. See you later.
Mm-hmm.
You're shaming that 24, bro.
Man, Bazemore would be appalled.
Right.
And that's saying something.
Right.
The big is.
Yeah, I mean, the two that I thought about, I was like, you know, that'd be nice, was Daniel Jones. Damien Jones. And my first thought was also Bruno. And then I think, you know, Quentin Cook kind of had some appeal to it just because we don't have, like, get Brandon Goodwin off this team, please. Like, I can't wait for Chris Dunn to come back. You know,
right.
pick Cook up long enough until Dunn comes back, and then drop him. Because Cook is a serviceable backup. You know, he's not going to do much for you. He's not. Again, he's one of those players that isn't going to kill you, but he's not going to win you many games.
He's a backup's backup, honestly. Like I never saw him on the court.
Well, I mean, he was also on some very loaded rosters.
Yeah,
right.
But I mean, he's a decent shooter.
Just decent, yeah.
Decent.
I would say I almost like the way Skylar can play defense more than Quinn Cook. Like, I actually like. I see Skylar in his defensive stance, and it actually looks like he could actually stay in front of somebody. Skylar Mays.
Oh yeah, I always forget about him. Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, so I like him, and I don't think we need any more point guard depth, especially once Dunn comes back. But yeah, I agree. I would, you know, maybe take a flyer on Boogie. I don't know if that would be an issue in the locker room or anything like that. And then, yeah, Damian Jones would just be a solid backup center because he's better than Bruno. He's better than Okongwu at this point. So, yeah, I mean, I agree with Mike on that, one of those two. But, yeah, Boogie would just be, I mean, I don't know. Someone's going to pick him up, I guess.
You know, like, to think of all the players we could have had instead of Okongwu.
I know, right? Halliburton.
God.
Tearing it up.
Halliburton looks so good.
Right. Or Patrick Williams on the...
Yeah. But, I mean, I knew we weren't going to go Halliburton just because of Trey.
But he's literally playing with De'Aaron Fox. Like, he's proving that he doesn't have to handle the ball.
He's he's the leader of your second unit.
Right.
Yeah. I mean, I just figured we wouldn't go young point guard again. But I mean, we could have gone Patrick Williams. Okoro hadn't looked terrible either.
He's a good defender.
Yeah.
Right.
He was athletic as shit.
He was the one flexing on us last night, right? He dunked it, right? He was the one who dunked it, right?
No. I forget that guy's name. It was
I know he hit some threes though. I know he definitely.
But Okongwu just he looks kind of lost out there. I still have hope for him. I haven't given up on him yet, but
what's Obi Toppin doing this year?
I think he's been hurt a little bit, and then he's just not really been playing because you got Julius Randle. A game. Yeah, you got Julius Randle out here dominating.
Julius Randle's balling out of his mind, which I told you he was, Marco.
Especially when he sees John Collins.
Boy. Was it 40, 48? What did he put up?
It was 40, I think it was like 46 or something.
Yeah. Too much.
Too many points for freaking. You don't want to give up career highs when someone comes to town.
Hell, we could have had Cole Anthony.
Right. Well, I mean, I'm not mad that we don't have him. I would have, either Halliburton or Patrick Williams. I know Patrick Williams would have been a little bit redundant with our, small forward depth. But now that we don't have any depth, it's almost like. But it's like Patrick Williams is actually a power forward.
Yeah, P-Dub can play the 3 or the 4.
Mm-hmm. He's pretty good at it. He's so calm. But anyway,
They're calling him the Paw. Have you heard that?
They called him the
Paw.
Yeah, you're right. Yeah, it was the Paw. Yeah, the claw, the baby.
Yeah, the baby claw.
That was a good one.
And to think he didn't even start for Florida State.
I know, right? Isn't that crazy? But you were on him already, though.
Yeah. As soon as they drafted him, I was like, oh, y'all got one.
I guess their fear was like the Hawks when we got Marvin Williams, who didn't
Marvin
start
Williams
for
wasn't
UNC.
good at North Carolina.
Don't disgrace Patrick Williams' name like that, comparing him to Marvin Williams.
Marvin Williams wasn't even good in college.
It's these folks who didn't start, and then it's like, all right, the last time we picked somebody who wasn't a starter for a college team, it didn't work out well.
No, I could see where there might have been some bias or like a trigger anxiety. But, Patrick Williams was definitely better than Marvin Williams was in college. Marvin Williams wasn't even good. He just had some breakaway dunks. That's it.
I'll never forget Chuck Oliver said talking about Marvin Williams, said he has a backside so big you could cook for a family of 4 on it. I was like, ah!
Why?
Why would I do that?
What? Why?
All right. So, do you want to get into standing talk or just get straight into Hawks?
Nah, I don't care about standings right now.
All right, cool. Well, just for everyone to know, at this point, the Sixers are number 1 in the East, and Utah is number 1 in the West still. Followed by, I'll just do top 4. Philly, Nets, Bucks, Pacers. I don't know how the hell they managed this.
Sabonis.
Right, just Sabonis. How is this dude not an all-star? Oh, my God.
Does it on both ends, too.
Indiana, and nobody pays attention to him.
Right. I know Brogdon's decent, but he's not that good. And then 1 through 4 in the West is Utah, Clippers, Lakers, and then the Suns, who now have 2 all-stars. I don't know how the Spurs are at number 5. I want to see that stop.
Spurs are just a damn good team.
I know, but no one wants them. We want Dallas and Golden State, not the Spurs.
Yeah.
No one wants to see DeMar DeRozan try to reclaim his career.
DeMar DeRozan!
Somewhere he's mad he didn't make the All-Star game, but no one thought he was going to.
Bryce made a point. He said, how's Ben Simmons leading the East and not an All-Star? And, Marco, you said something earlier. Ben Simmons is actually one of the favorites to win Defensive Player of the Year this year. Don't act like he ain't doing nothing.
I have mad hate for players who can't shoot in the NBA.
Yeah.
Mad hate.
At least he's dominating on one end.
Yeah.
Yeah, but
Embiid's the MVP of that team, so I don't know. Ben Simmons does his part. He's just a really good role player.
Tristan Thompson.
I don't know if 16, 8, and 8 is a role player.
What? That's a really good role player.
16, 8, and 8?
That's an elite role player.
And a Defensive Player of the Year candidate? Come on.
Role players win Defensive Player of the Year all the time.
Blah. What?
I'm just saying.
Yeah, well, that is true. That actually is true.
Role player, like
Yeah, I mean there are plenty of like bigs who weren't really. They were just like Gobert.
It's definitely
I
a role
wouldn't
player.
consider Gobert a superstar, but
he's a star. He's not
He's
a
a role
superstar.
player.
yeah, I mean, I just offensively he doesn't really give you much offensively.
Okay, I'll give Draymond Green as the last
We got
one.
Rudy. We got Draymond. Joakim Noah.
Joakim Noah is not a role player on that team.
Joakim Noah is terrible.
Not a, wow! Look at his stats that year.
I don't care.
Spin the ball to the basket.
Tyson Chandler wasn't at the time, but he became a role player. Ben Wallace was definitely a role player. Marcus Camby was a role player. Ron Artest was a role player in 2003.
I just don't understand. I get what you're saying. You're thinking of them offensively. They're role players offensively. But you can't be the key cog on defense and, essentially make players or teams plan around you and be a role player.
Dennis Rodman was a role player. Your
Dennis,
role is
Dennis Rodman was a perennial all-star because of how good he was on defense. You can't
He's
tell
a role player.
All right, look.
Well, he was that and a rebounder.
Yeah, he rebounded, he defended, like
his role was to get defense.
Yeah, I mean,
then LeBron's role is to score points.
LeBron's role is to do everything.
Well, yeah, that's a bad example. LeBron's role is to do everything, but
he's
Steph's role is to score points.
He's a very strong role player, honestly, and that I mean.
Who are we talking to?
Just for prosperity.
Talk about Rodman. Rodman was a very strong role player. It's just like he defensively, his presence was. He knew his job was. I'm gonna lock down my guy. I'm gonna rebound. But I'm offensively, that's y'all.
So
I'm going to Vegas.
Traditionally, a role player you would think comes off the bench, but I'd argue that that's not necessarily true. And it just basically says a role player in basketball is a player on the team who plays a supporting role on the roster.
Everyone plays a supporting role.
Hey, so everybody is a role player.
Fernando doesn't.
Not Bruno Fernando. And Gallinari before this game sure as hell didn't. But
Gallinari said, "I'm a star, baby."
I'm a star, baby. Right? I play with KD. No, but yeah, man. Ben Simmons to me, yeah, sure he deserves it. He's in by proxy. They put him in every year for some reason, but no, he's not. He's not what I want to see in a goddamn All-Star game. I don't care what anybody says.
Calm down there, Marco. It's just Ben Simmons, okay?
Well, no, but it's like we talked about just a few minutes ago. Rudy Gobert makes the All-Star game almost every year. Clint Capella has better numbers than him right now. So it's, is he that special that he deserves to be in an All-Star game?
Well, Rudy's different because he's a number one seed.
Yeah.
Yeah. He's the.
So I mean,
and is it like you don't attack the paint when Rudy's in there? It's just.
Okay, so I'll give that to you. Ben Simmons is basically the East Rudy Gobert. I'll give you that.
Could you imagine if they put Ben Simmons as their paint protector?
That's what he is. Like,
he's not a paint protector.
That's my problem with Ben Simmons. He's a power forward, and he swears he's a point guard. He's not a point guard.
He's averaging 8 assists a game.
I don't care, man. I'm never gonna.
Draymond would too if he had the ball that much.
My point guard needs to shoot, man.
Hold on. So
I don't care.
What do you think about? I just lost his name. The Serbian sensation.
The Serbian.
Not
Jokic?
Serbian. Jokic, yeah.
What about Jokic? That man's dropped like 50 like 4 times.
Yeah, but he gets you like 8 assists from the center position. You don't care, right?
Dropped like 54 times.
I know, I get that. I'm talking about assists. What you said about
Ben Simmons doesn't shoot.
If you can't shoot, get off my court.
Right, get off my court. This dude has like a hook shot. Like, who the hell develops a hook shot in 2021? Learn to shoot the damn basketball.
Make it rain.
I'm just saying. I know. Trey didn't deserve to be an All-Star this year, but Ben Simmons, I will always hate on him. I know. Hopefully someone can still like get, maybe hurt or COVID, and Trey can still just come. Hopefully. Not to wish COVID on anybody, but
Go and get some COVID.
Anyway, let's move on. Let's talk about the Hawks. All right, so
Hawks talk.
So the Hawks have blown 10 games this season in which they had leads in the fourth. Let me read. I was just reading this in the power rankings. They said something interesting about the Hawks. It said, it's worth repeating that the Hawks are statistically one of the league's most improved teams. They've seen the second biggest jump in points differential per 100% possessions, with the fifth most improved offense and the fourth most improved defense. But the improvement hasn't been the same in the standings, where the Hawks are the only team with a losing record and a positive point differential.
In true Atlanta fashion.
Because they've struggled, especially defensively in close games. They are 6-11 in games that were within 5 points in the last 5 minutes, with the league's 28th ranked clutch defense. Like, goddamn.
That's awful.
And they're a game and a half behind the 7th place Knicks, who have beat them twice. So,
because they can play defense.
Right. I don't know where we're going to take this Hawks conversation, but I just want to say it's going to be really tough for us to make the playoffs when we lose to all these teams who are going to be right around us in the standings. We've already lost 2 to Charlotte. We've lost 2 to the Knicks, lost 2 to the Cavs.
Good thing there's a 6-game series. I do have something to say, yes. But
I thought you were raising your hand. Go ahead.
This all comes back to one thing with this team, and we will never be able to judge them truly until they are at full strength, because the one thing that suffers the most in basketball down the stretch when you are shorthanded are your legs. And in order to play defense, you got to have your legs underneath you. So we're leaving guys out there that are tired and expecting them to play defense in crunch time situations, and they got no legs underneath them. They're playing more games or more minutes than they should be because they don't have the depth. And in order for us to win those games, you got to keep your stars in. And plus, our stars really aren't that great defenders in the first place. The only 3 players that are plus defenders on this team are Cam Reddish, DeAndre Hunter, and Clint Capella.
I'll give Kevin Huerter some credit.
Yeah, Kevin's okay. He tries. He started trying again. Like last season, he was trash. Yeah. But I don't know, man. We'll get to what I want to say after this, but
Michael, what were you earlier? You were saying that you were upset with Trey about this game. What were you? Tell me what you were upset about.
Well, first and foremost, I'm gonna say that I was telling one of my coworkers who didn't watch the game about how we lost last night, right? And,
all right, hold on, time out. I'm starting to get jealous of these coworkers, Micah. Look, you come on here talking to us saying I was telling my coworker. You didn't tell us during the day.
Yeah, because I can't text because I got the damn phone voice.
Make it happen, Micah.
I was telling him how we pulled off that last minute of the game, and one of my female coworkers happened to halfway here, and she was like, "What, the Hawks pulled some Falcons shit?" I was like,
"Yo,
yes."
Yeah, we did. That's what we did.
But last night, I Trey on. Even though he missed a couple shots late, that wasn't what bothered me. There were two things that truly three things. So we had the ball with about 30-some seconds left. Trey misses a shot. We go down. Herter gets a beautiful steal. Gets the ball back. Trey gets trapped on the sideline, almost steps out of bounds.
Trey dribbles into a trap. Yep. Thank you.
And so that frustrated me. But he gets the timeout in. It's like, all right, cool. Then he proceeds to drive the lane and shoot a floater with like 10 seconds left. And it's like, why? Why did you not try to eat more time up off the clock before taking a shot? Misses the shot. They get the ball, go back down. Then he proceeds to not play defense and gives up a wide open lane. Olay defense, open lane. They get an easy dunk to take the go ahead dunk. Then the last thing, we have 4 seconds left. He gets the ball underneath their basket, dribbles the entire length of the floor, gets there, realizes he's not going to be able to take a shot, get a shot off, sees Tony, what's his name?
Tony Snell.
Tony Snell in the corner, wide open, of course. Everybody's guarding Trey, and it's like, leave Snell wide open, and then tries to pass the ball to him, and the clock runs out before the ball
before he even gets it.
It's like, dude, you just drove the length of the floor, and you didn't even look at the clock before.
I was a little confused as to whether he actually got it off or not. I don't remember. Did he? I think he might have got off the shot. Snell?
No.
He didn't?
The buzzer rang when the buzzer went off when the ball was halfway to Tony Snell.
Right before.
And then Snell just catches it and throws it up, just like
misses anyway.
This is Bryce said this on God. This sounds like the Falcons and Detroit game.
No, but let me break down all the gaffes that happened. Okay.
One important thing, and I don't get it to this day. Why point guards do this in these type of situations. If you're a point guard and you're listening to this and you know a trap is coming, if you ever dribble to the sideline to create a third defender, you should be yanked out of the game. Dean Smith, the legendary coach Dean Smith, would tell his players, bring the ball down the middle of the court. You have the entire court to get away from the defense then. If you go to one side, you're creating another defender. And he would literally bench his point guards if they did that. It's the dumbest move in basketball.
Even funnier, Trey had the nerve when he called the timeout to be like, I was like, oh my God, this guy.
No.
Go ahead.
The only thing he could have potentially done worse to make that situation any worse is to try to pull a Lou Dort and try to jump and throw it off.
Okay, wait. So let me get at this though. There was a lot of bad in that game, and I'll say it's almost a double-edged sword because the only reason we were in that game is because of Trey, and because John Collins went out with a concussion, and obviously in the first half, so we were even more underhanded than usual, with Cam already being a scratch. But there's two things, so Trey missed 5 free throws that game. That's all we needed to win. We needed a 30-point night from Trey, and he could have easily got it and got us that win. That didn't happen. And one of the free throws was the worst when he hit an and one, and then he started celebrating, and then he missed the free throw. I'm like, Trey, come on, man. That's why I'm glad at least today he looks serious.
For Trey to be such a good shooter and small and to shoot free throws as poorly as he does,
well, he shoots 90%. That's pretty good.
Is he up to 90 now? Because he didn't last.
89. He's 89%.
Oh, that's better. Because he did shoot in the 70s for a while.
No, he's up there. But for as much as he shoots, goddamn, he better.
Yeah, now. Yeah. You got a lot of practice, young man.
A lot of practice. But then we got to talk about Lloyd Pierce because my man, why in the hell? We're up. Why did you put Danilo Gallinari in the game? Why did you take Clint Capella out of the game in that situation? Oh, well, we thought they were going to try to foul Capella. Then let them foul Capella. He gets a chance to shoot free throws, and the clock gets to get stopped. But he puts Gallo in there, and then with Trey playing the Matador defense, Gallo's just at the under the rim watching this dude. He's like, shit.
I can contest this. Nah, that ain't me. I'm a stretch 4. I ain't.
Nah, the crazy thing is Gallo's on the other side of the lane, doesn't even try. And then for some reason, Herter's guarding Jared Allen.
Herter was doing a good I won't even
Herter
just
picked up a man.
doing what he was supposed to do.
Yeah, but
Solomon Hill was out there in nowhere land. I
but
don't know what the hell he was doing.
the only reason I mentioned Herter with Jared Allen is because once the their small forward made the move to the basket, Jared Allen just kind of stepped in front of him and was like, all right, you're done.
Right.
He was the only one who probably would have played defense in that position, and
Right.
Jared Allen was just like, box out. Nope.
Unfortunately, he just picked the guy who was going to take away his effectiveness. But that's not. Let's go back a little bit. Let's go back like 2 minutes or a minute maybe. Why did Lloyd Pierce try to challenge that foul?
Why did he?
He stays challenging calls like Dan Quinn. It's like, bro, you're not going to win that one.
Solomon convinced him, man. Solo was like, man, my feet was set. That's a charge. No.
We needed that timeout more than anything, that because obviously Lloyd Pierce isn't a good coach, so that makes sense that Trey did not know how to handle that last 7 seconds. He was like, oh, I don't have a shot. What do I do? Or that last 4 seconds. Like, we needed that timeout for sure. So at least I don't know. That's my breakdown of everything bad that happened in the end of that game.
Yeah.
So I mean, just in terms of conclusion drawing, I don't know what to make. Like you said, Ryan, we don't know what we have until everybody's healthy. But I guess it's a positive, I guess, to say that, okay, we are in all these games, even though we lose them. We are in. Oh, wait, I had this interesting graphic that I reposted. Did y'all see that on the Twitter? It's on the Fish and Grits Twitter. It basically correlated injuries with losses. And we are in the bottom 5 percentile in terms of injuries. Like, there's only 3 teams worth that are more impacted by injuries than us. It was like Houston, all teams that obviously aren't in the playoffs. The only team in our position that is in the playoffs is the Golden State Warriors. So that's interesting. In terms of as many players as they've lost, they're still managing to get wins. So I thought that was interesting. Any opinions or thoughts?
On that?
No, the Hawks, just the Hawks.
Oh. Lloyd Pierce needs to go.
Oh, yeah, that was it. Oh, yeah. It was Lloyd Pierce and John Collins. It's like, let's talk about these 2 guys. What do we do?
Hey, Bryce, let me know. I just changed my audio settings. Let me know if it still sounds weird to you or if it sounds a little bit better or if you hear an echo.
You were saying you sounded weird?
No, I was looking at the mixer there, and my bars were going a little crazy. So I think that was the noise you were hearing earlier, and I think I had it set up wrong.
Okay.
Yeah, personally, I think now would be the time to trade John Collins. And while he's playing well, but you need some depth. You need some pieces, something. So because you're too banged up at many key positions. So if you can flip John Collins for a couple of solid role players, so we don't have to play Solomon Hill so much, Tony Snell so much, then you and maybe a good draft pick. Do it. I mean, because like you said, despite how much we've struggled, how many games we've thrown away down the stretch, we're 5 games out of the 3 seed, and like a game and a half from behind the Knicks, who are the 7th seed right now. So it's easily, if we can just get some depth pieces, we could easily change our trajectory and get back into playoff contention. But I also feel like we need to fire Lloyd Pierce and just let Nate McMillan take over for the rest of the season, because Lloyd Pierce's decision making is awful. His rotation minutes and stuff like that, and when he'll pull the hot hand out of the game at a key moment. Then he'll leave. Like Trey will be killing him. He'll pull him out, then wait so long that Trey gets cold again to put him back in the game, and just like, oh well, destroyed your rhythm. So, I think you need to see what you have, and the few games. Now, granted, there was only a few games, but Nate McMillan had made the team look so much more efficient. So I would just say, sorry, Lloyd. We're going, or hell, demote him and then promote McMillan.
I wonder, that might be unprecedented to I know you can strip a GM position like they did Budenholzer, but I don't think you can like demote your coach and keep him on the staff.
I'm gonna find something real quick. What was this? Let's see if I can find this, because this was hopefully I can find it.
What is it that you're looking for?
It's a block that a Florida State player just had. Oh, and this is not intentional, Marco.
It's against Miami.
It is against Miami. Let's
but
see.
I do want to hear, just before we move on from basketball, we were in the chat and I was shitting on Lloyd Pierce, as I've consistently done for the past 3 years. And I heard a little voice at the corner of my ear come and tell me that there's positive things about Lloyd Pierce. And I sort of want you to, talk about that, Ryan.
Hold on here. We'll get to that in a second. All right. Look at this block.
Looking for Koprivica. One back the other way, and there's Raekwon Gray coming to the rescue.
Well, he's a little bit optimistic with the pass.
Oh, by the way, Gonzaga is winning.
But he really makes up for it. He hustles. He actually got in front of Isaiah Wong. And
Wong's a beast for y'all, though. I will tell you that much.
Back the other way, and there's Raekwon Gray.
I'd be lying if I even knew an ounce of what's going on. If I said I even knew an ounce of what's going on in college basketball this year.
Yeah, and wait, who were we just talking about? Because Bryce said, "Yeah, retire. He's canceled."
Who are we talking about?
Bryce, we're too old. Who were we talking about?
Yeah, who are we canceling now?
Because we don't remember. Oh well. You were bringing him around.
You saw what?
He's not responding, so just bring it around, and I'll let you know if he responds.
Oh, well, I was just asking you, were you just being ironic when you said that Lloyd Pierce was good at something?
Oh yeah, right. No, I mean, as an assistant. Oh, he said the guy that got blocked is canceled.
Oh, okay.
So man, no. I cede.
We're not going there.
Nah. I realized the error in my ways, and I'm gonna take that L and just keep it moving.
L like Lloyd. Let's get it. So
Lost Pierce.
That concludes the NBA talk.
The what? The layup?
Oh yeah. That concludes the layup, aka the finger roll, aka jelly time, aka points in the paint.
And now it's time for the Suicide Squeeze, the baseball segment. So, first things first.
The realist. Oh.
There was a. We're gonna start with the bad news. I'll start with the bad news.
What the hell, Michael? Why you got an entire thing of notes? There we go.
So I'll start with the bad news in the Braves. Mark Melancon, our closer of the past couple of years, signed with the Padres. It sucks because he was a very good closer, very reliable, very consistent. But I mean, considering he is 35 or 36, we probably needed to move on and find a younger arm to fill that role.
Probably.
Yeah. But I mean, we knew what we had with him, though. You knew you had a solid closer. However, it does leave us with we do have some holes in our bullpen that we have to fill.
Quick question. What happened to the one dude who in the series against the Dodgers, like he was sort of a long-haired dude, younger guy, sort of stocky, who was pitching for us? What happened to that one guy?
He looked like Kerry Lightenberg, stocky Kerry Lightenberg.
Yeah.
What is his name, Micah?
Bryce Wilson?
Is that Bryce Wilson? Is that his name? Bryce Wilson.
Was he pitching relief or what?
Well, he started that one game.
Yeah,
Bryce Wilson. That's him. Yeah,
probably Bryce. Well,
okay. Wait.
He's actually in my notes. So, on another pitching tip, he potentially might not make. He might get left off the opening day roster. But he says if he does, it will be a lot of motivation, because right now, I mean, as of where it sits, we get Soroka back. You have Freed, and Ian Anderson was looked to be every bit of what we anticipated him being. Then you also brought in Charlie Morton, who's a very good vet, and Smiley, who's a very good left-handed vet. So there's a chance we have 5 solid starters. So Bryce Wilson being the odd man out, he potentially will get left off the roster. So we also made a couple of pickups. So we claimed Guillermo Heredia, the outfielder from the Mets. And we also signed Jake Lamb as a potential backup. We're probably going to be backing up Austin Riley at third base. But if he can get back to his form in about 2017, a few years ago, where he was a comeback player of the year, then he can be something. He'll be very solid for us. We'll probably see more time. We'll find ways to get him on the field. Hopefully not by putting Austin Riley in left field, though. I just hope that's not the solution. But speaking of Austin Riley, there are a lot of media pundits that have tabbed him to be a potential breakout candidate this year.
He learned how to hit a breaking ball?
Feast or famine?
Huh?
Mr. Feast or Famine himself?
Yeah. But I really hope that with Chipper working with a lot of these batters, that they'll change their mindsets. And that won't necessarily be as all or nothing, become more complete hitters as opposed to just bomb or none.
That just confirms also that Chipper Jones and the Atlanta Braves are active listeners of Fish and Grits, the podcast, because that was as soon as we lost Game 7 to the Dodgers, that was our suggestion. Get a new hitting coach, make it be Chipper.
Yeah, for sure.
You're welcome, Atlanta.
I mean, I would not be surprised to see Austin Riley get better, but I don't even know if he's going to be the breakout guy on our team. Like, what about Ollie's?
Defensively at third base, he's very solid. But if he can, like I said, if he can become more of a complete hitter, like not necessarily Freddie Free complete hitter, but just not strike out nearly as much as he does, and stop swinging for the fence so much. Just learn the situational hit. If he can learn the situational hit at all, then
like molt.
Yeah, I was about to say, so become a different player, not be Austin Riley.
Well, I mean, to be perfectly fair, there are very few guys on our team. Even as great as Acuña's not much of a situational hitter.
Yeah, neither.
Like he's he oftentimes can be all or nothing, especially with runners on base. He's swinging out of his shoes trying to hit a ball.
This last year, yes, for sure. Last year,
especially in the playoffs.
I think Austin or Acuna's injury played a bigger role than we think in his ability to hit last
injury.
year.
Yeah.
And I'll also say, I thought it's interesting the terminology of breakout player, because like didn't Austin Riley start his career like on pace to like 100 home runs in a season?
He had like 7 home runs or something like that in like his first 7 games. It's like, what?
I mean, but I get it. It's just kind of like, will he they had high hopes for him, and will he like break out and legitimately be
the next star,
all-star, potential, and start to hit that potential this year.
Like they wanted Dansby to be so bad.
Yeah. Also, another story that came up was I read that they were asking, can Albies kind of take his game to another level? And of course, I joked. I said, of course, if he just stopped hitting left-handed, he could easily take his game to another level.
I mean,
that's
no lies.
Defensively, he's great. He's amazing defensively. He just needs to take that left-hand hitting crap out of his arsenal. That can solve a lot of his problems right there.
Maybe Chipper will like maybe Chipper's the solution to all of our problems. So it'll be like, yep, probably.
About that switch hitting, I don't do it anymore. just righty. Yeah, it's righty. Oh man, but as far as that Braves baseball goes, and baseball in general, there's not much else. I
have a question for y'all.
What's up?
So the odds makers this year have put the Mets, or maybe not all the odds makers, but the preliminary odds makers have put the Mets at plus 89 wins. So if the Mets win 89 wins, what does that mean for the Braves?
Means the Mets are the second place team behind us.
So what do you think we're gonna get?
I think we'll be 95-ish wins.
Yeah, I could see that. I really don't see the Mets being that high either. Anyway, I think their pitching staff is good, but they still. What bats did they sign?
I'm looking at their roster right now. They got Lindor.
They got Lindor?
Yeah, they got Francisco Lindor.
Shit.
They still got Pete Alonso. They got James McCann at catcher. They've got some players here and there. Like they still got Nimmo. Conforto's pretty good. Let's see what Nimmo. Yeah, 8 home runs, but he's a defender with a decent contact bat. And what's Conforto? Remember, he was pretty good last season. Yeah, 9 home runs, 322. So I mean, they got a good roster, but they don't have a lot of depth. Like the Braves are far more talented than.
I still am more confident in the Marlins being the 2 seed over the Mets. I think the Marlins have a deeper, much stronger roster. I think the Mets starting pitchers and stuff are better, but I think the Marlins are just a better roster overall.
Yeah, I 100% agree with that. I think the Marlins will have a better season than the Mets.
Right, that's what I was thinking too. It's like, damn, I know the Mets did a lot, and I mean, pickups like Lindor and and their pitching staff, that's huge. But at the same time, it's like, didn't they miss the playoffs? Did the Marlins get a spot when every team made the playoffs?
And I mean,
they also made a star player just decide, I don't want to play baseball anymore.
Right.
Mid-season, just like y'all suck. I don't want to travel with y'all no more.
They're still trying. Did Tim Tebow officially retire, or are they still trying to use him as a marketing ploy? I know they started off the season saying he was going to, but then I think he might have retired.
He's going to be on all their game day pamphlets, like Tim Tebow. People are like, wait, didn't he retire? They're like, shh.
Let me see what's the newest Tebow news. It's Tebow in the XFL. Wait, what?
Those two things couldn't be any more different.
Looking back at Tebow mania, so nothing. Let's see, restoration. Do you think? Blah blah blah. I don't see anything about him retiring.
I mean, he just needs to just go ahead and do your analyst job, and now you're in NFL. And
Go back to college game day.
Yeah.
Okay, he did retire because McAfee reacted 5 days ago to Tim Tebow retiring from professional baseball.
Just because you're getting fairly good money. Matter of fact, you could take David Pollock's place on like college game day because I'm not a huge fan of David Pollock.
Pollock's just so dry.
Yeah, but yeah, I mean, just do that, and you can make all the money plus some that you made from the time you spent in the minor. Matter of fact, AAA, AA, they don't pay that well anyway, so you were just wasting time.
Bars.
Passion play.
Yeah, exactly. You were wasting time. Just stick to the media stuff. So that concludes the suicide squeeze. So lightning round. I've had this question on my mind for about a month now because this is the last time we actually did one.
A shot. Damn, Micah, we're busy.
So it was an album. What's an album that you remember you bought on the release date that you specifically remember, and because there was something that was going on with your life that made you remember it? What is an album
On the release date?
that you bought on that you were excited about and you got on the release date? And you remember the release date of an album for a specific reason. That's what I'm trying to say.
I think there's a problem with the phrasing on your question because Marco wasn't alive for any of the albums he likes when they were released.
That's not true. I still buy albums, but there is something to what you're saying though. But.
Well, like even the ones that if you remember what the exact day it was released, and there was a specific reason as to why.
Like an album that holds nostalgia to you?
Yeah. And like to that point where like something was going, it coincides with something event that was in your life.
I can think of two answers for you, but I don't think they quite fill the requirements, but they're close, and they're about as close as I can get. There's Kanye's 808 and Heartbreaks.
Mm-hmm.
It was when I had like originally split up with my now ex-wife.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, this is the perfect ringtone for her.
Heartless.
Yep. And that sounds real petty, but it's just, I was like 21, maybe 21. I was still very immature. That was one that definitely I was like, that fit for that period of time in my life, and I used it, and I liked it. And it was a good album. It was one of Kanye's last good albums, and it's probably his third or fourth best album. But that, and I would say Zac Brown Band, Jekyll and Hyde.
Mm-hmm.
That was probably my most anticipated album recently, because it was Zach getting away from that, that label control of you're going to make real country music and get back to what I knew him as when he would do the local bars in Carrollton. And Zach played lots of rock and roll. He played lots of, he was very diverse when he would play those spots. And it was one of the reasons that I remembered him, because I was like, man, for me to be out in the University of West Georgia and for me to be listening to this quality of music, I was like, this guy's good. And, it's like at a dive bar.
Yeah.
So I would say that because it got him back to that. And I think I was at Fort Drum in 2014, 2015 when that was released.
He got his street cred back.
Yeah, essentially. It just, allowed a lot of people to see him for what he really was. He wasn't just I make country songs where I talk about smoking weed, and they're a little bit different.
Yeah.
Dope. I got mine, unless you want to answer first, Mike.
No, you can go ahead.
All right, so when Taylor Swift released,
I was like,
So Marco would love a Taylor Swift album.
I'm just playing. I don't remember shit about Taylor Swift. No, but so it has to be a Sum 41 album, Screaming Bloody Murder, because this was I think 2010. I was at Georgia State, sophomore year, I think, and I was going through so I had just obviously my whole high school and early college I was strictly hip hop. But before that, I had been really into punk rock and even Linkin Park and all that. So during that time period, I had got into a relationship, and it was in a rocky side. So I was getting back in my feelings and my my emotions. So I pulled out those old Sum 41 albums, and then I started to realize why I liked this band so much, because they really spoke to how I was feeling at the time. So luckily, right at that time coincided with them releasing their first album in 3 years. So, I went and got that the first day it was out. And I think I even had a compact disc player still in 2010. So I put the CD in the compact disc, and I remember getting on MARTA and just listening through the songs. And I know there's one song in particular that I hit, it's called Sick of Everyone. And it was when I remember on the platform specifically walking and being yo, this is my soundtrack right now. So, yeah.
I'm so full of angst.
I'm so full of angst and madness and fuck bitches and yeah. So, yeah, that's mine. Screaming Bloody Murder by Sum 41.
Okay. Now, I will probably blow your mind with these because I actually have two.
Meatloaf.
No, the first one,
Loverboy.
the first one was Young Jeezy Thug Motivation 101, July 26, 2005.
Damn.
I had just graduated high school. I was actually working out with a trainer to get ready to go to college because I was on track and field. So, I was already listening to the music, but that album came. I went, worked out that morning at New Birth. They had their little gym. They had the gym in there. Worked out, went home, showered, and got to Target as soon as they opened and bought the album. The second album was Childish Gambino's Awaken My Love. It released at 3 a.m. on December 2nd, 2016, which happened to be my 30th birthday. So I specifically remember that album, one, not just because it's my 30th birthday, but because my last day at UPS was the 1st. So I was up at 3 a.m. just driving around because I was so used to driving around at that time. When I happened to look on YouTube and see he started releasing the tracks. And I'll never forget, I was driving down 78 at 3 something in the morning when Redbone dropped on YouTube, and I remember listening to it while driving through Snellville at 3:15 in the morning. It was, and I've always been one that I can listen to an album and be like, oh, this is gonna be a single, this is gonna be a single, this is gonna be a single, and that was it was that me and Your Mama and Stand Tall. Those were the three that stood out on that album to me. But I'll never forget, specifically where I was when I first heard that album because of, like I said, it was first day free of UPS and my 30th birthday.
That album was so good, especially one to get elevated to.
Oh yeah.
It was a great...
I don't know about that, but
I've never heard it. Was the This Is America on that same album, or was that the next album?
No,
That was the next, yeah. Or
that was the next
2
one.
albums after.
Yeah,
I
that
never
was.
listened.
This Is America came out in like 2018,
Yeah.
2019.
And Redbone was like,
I'm not a Donald Glover fan.
it's okay. We all can't be perfect.
And I'm just playing.
Nah, I mean, like
I'm
I
not
said,
playing.
it was. And that was my kind of thing. I got into Donald Glover because, like I said, I listened to Heartbeat. And I was like, that's a pretty good song. Then I realized, like, wait, he looks like my boy Steven, who happens to actually be his younger brother, who
Oh,
I
really?
was like real good friend. Rode the bus with. We were real good friends in elementary school, and it was like, wow. So that's when I really started looking into him, and that was around the time because of the internet when it came out. Then
That's that one. When I first heard Childish Gambino, I was like, yo, he sounds like a knockoff Lil Wayne.
I thought Lil Wayne.
Yeah, like his lyrics were like hella like not about anything.
But I'd much rather you talk about nothing than the same money, cars, and girls all day.
True.
Yeah. He went to my high school.
Mm-hmm.
He went to, where'd you go?
Lakeside. Well, then he was at Lakeside, and then he went to DeKalb School of Arts.
Yeah.
But I do remember him being there very briefly.
Mm-hmm.
Like,
Mike, did you know B.O.B.?
No.
You didn't know B.O.B.? Okay.
Nah.
yeah. I think that does it for us, right, guys?
Yeah.
So we appreciate you guys for sticking around for the live stream. I saw a couple of y'all jumped on. Next time, if you do decide to join us, jump in the chat. We'll answer some of your questions. We'll maybe even bring y'all on one time for a guest podcast.
We can do
That'd be
call
kinda
in.
cool. Yeah, we could definitely do it with Zoom and the ability to have 4 people on here for sure. Just cycle them through. But we appreciate y'all. For those listening on audio only, this will be the end of episode 41, and y'all know when that will actually be. But this podcast was brought to you by Mask Beard. As you can see, the nice little. I've been looking at it the whole time on this. I'm like, what is that weird thing on my beard? And it's just like a little ledge. I need to get a bigger mask because it just sits right here and then it pins it. So then, at the end of the day, my beard just looks like that.
You need that mask that goes like this.
Yeah. Just get a bag. Wear a bag down there.
If I can't breathe, I won't get COVID.
I mean, that is true.
Yo, I went to I had to go to the emergency room, and they made me double mask. You cannot. It's like, how do people breathe? How do people breathe with a double mask on?
I double masked for a while at the beginning when no one really knew. They're like, don't touch anything, don't breathe, don't blink.
Right.
And like when I was wearing gloves and I had like 2 masks and I'd go to Publix and I was like,
right.
I'd be like sweating going down the aisles like it's so hard to breathe.
Right. Like I know that day when we were walking around the mall in Augusta, I was having a hard time breathing. Imagine if I had 2 masks on.
Bro, I was walking around like, because, I guess you don't, I had to do it every day with work. So, yeah, I'm just used to it, walking around like, da, 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 da. Man, Marco behind me was like, this is hard. I was like, are you all right?
It's like, do you have COVID?
Are you going to die? Oh, man. Yeah, it's hard. It's definitely, especially if you're not used to it. Micah, take us out of here.
So that concludes another episode. In the words of Outkast, now throw your hands in the air and wave them like you just don't care. And if you like fish and grits and all that sports shit, everybody let me hear you say,
Oh,
yeah. Peace.